Hello, grade 7 learners. I'm your environmental science teacher for today, Hana or Satorre from National High School. Welcome to our environmental science class. How are you? I'm sure you are all excited to learn. Our lesson for today is all about developed understanding of the ocean water. After this lesson, you are expected to first, second, third, and fourth. Before we are going to start our lesson, let us answer this activity. How do you find our activity? I'm sure you already have an idea of what our lesson is. Let us begin! Have you ever heard the Earth called the blue planet? This term makes sense because over 70% of the surface of the Earth is covered with water. The vast majority of that water is in the oceans. Without all that water, our world would be a different place. The oceans are an important part of the Earth. They help to determine the makeup of the air. They help determine the weather and temperature, and they support great amounts of life. Before we will go deeper to our discussion, please answer this activity. How the oceans formed. When the Earth was formed 4.6 billion years ago, it would never have been called the blue planet. There were no oceans, there was no oxygen in the atmosphere, and no life. But there were violent collisions, explosions, and eruptions. Volcanic eruptions released water vapor from the Earth's crust, while more water came from asteroids and comets that collided with the Earth. Present ocean formation. As you know, the continents were not always in the same shape or position as they are today. Because of tectonic plate movements, land masses have moved above the Earth since they were created. About 250 million years ago, all of the continents were arranged in one huge mass of land called Pangaea. This meant that most of the Earth's water was collected in a huge ocean called Pantalassa. By about 180 million years ago, Pangaea had begun to break apart because of continental drift. This then separated the Panthalassa Ocean into separate but connected oceans that are ocean basins we see today. How important ocean is. The Earth's ocean play an important role in maintaining the world as we know. First, the ocean is largely responsible for keeping the temperatures on Earth fairly steady. On Earth, the oceans absorb heat, energy from the sun. Then, the ocean currents move the energy from areas of hot water to areas of cold water and vice versa. Second, the ocean is home to an enormous amount of life. This includes many kinds of microscopic life, plants and algae, invertebrates like sea stars and jellyfish, fish, reptiles, and marine mammals. Many different creatures of the ocean form a vast and complicated food web that actually makes up the majority of all biomass on Earth. What is biomass? Biomass is the total weight of living organisms in a particular area. Third, the ocean provides the starting point for the Earth's water cycle. Most of the water that evaporates into the atmosphere initially comes from the ocean. This water, in turn, falls on land in the formation of precipitation. It creates snow and ice, streams and ponds, without which people would have a little fresh water. Everyone knows that ocean water tastes salty. Why ocean water is salty? Because the composition of ocean water has oftentimes been referred to as the universal solvent. Many things like salts, sugars, acids, bases, and other organic molecules can be dissolved in water. Most important substance dissolved in the ocean is salt. The Dead Sea, for example, has 30% salinity, nearly 9 times the average salinity of ocean water. Why it is called Dead Sea? Because so few organisms can live in its super salty water. Warm water is less dense, and colder waters are more dense. The density mass per volume of seawater is greater than that of a fresh water because it has so many dissolved substances in it. The water column in 1960, one of the deepest part of the ocean, which is 10,910 meters, was reached by two men in a specially designed submarine called the Trieste. The Trieste made a record dive to the Challenger Deep in 1960. In contrast, the average depth of the ocean is 3,790 meters, still an incredible deep for the sea creatures to live at, and for humans to travel. There are three major factors: the absence of light, low temperature, and extremely high pressure. In order to better understand regions of the ocean, the scientists define different regions by the depth. Oceanic division, vertical region. First, photic zone. Photic means light. Sunlight only penetrates water to a depth of about 200 meters. Since organisms that photosynthesize depend on sunlight, they can only live in the top 200 meters of water. Second, a photic zone. Beneath the photic zone, where there is not enough light for photosynthesis, the aphotic zone makes up the majority of the ocean, but a minority of its life forms. Descending to the ocean floor, the water temperature decreases while pressure increases tremendously. The ocean can also be divided by horizontal distance from the shore. First, we have intertidal zone. It is nearest to the shorelines. In this region, you might find waves, changes in tide, and constant motion in the water that exposes the water to large amounts of air. Organisms that live in this zone are adapted to withstand waves and exposure to air and low tides by having strong attachments and hard shells. Second, neritic zone includes the intertidal zone on the part of the ocean floor that very gradually slopes downward. The continental shelf, lots of oceanic plants live in this zone, since some sunlight still penetrates the bottom of the ocean floor in the neritic zone. Third, oceanic zone, beyond the neritic zone, where the sloping sea floor takes a much even steeper dive and sunlight does not reach. Animals such as sharks, fish, and whales can be found in this zone. They feed on materials that sink from upper levels or consume one another. To measure your understanding about the topic being discussed, let us answer this activity.
You already understand how the oceans form, the significance of the oceans, the composition of ocean water, and the parts of oceanic divisions. While learning. Let's call it a